So I wanted to go over how to deal with low angle berms, and I guess the more AKA terrible berms. So this is Marcelo at Fort William. There's a section up top where there's maybe three or four linked together, and if you mess up the first one, you mess up the second one. And so it's really important. But there's a couple of things that you can keep in mind that makes this type of stuff way easier. So Marcelo, this is Marcelo, and the GoPro is on his bike, which is also nice because it kind of helps you see the lean of the bike and really where his tires are going. And he's also like insanely good at this stuff. So let's watch it through. Cool, 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 cool. So the goal actually on all of this stuff is to, if you noticed, he once he's got into the turn, he was never really messing with his bike. And so he's doing that because if you're going too fast, that's when you end up having to brake in the middle of the turn. And if you're going too slow, that means you're able to turn too tight. So ideally, you're going the maximum speed to what like the traction or the lean angle in your bike can kind of hold. So if you really take a look at the way that his bike is lean, he'll come in like he's probably, it's pretty dry, so he might be braking a little bit after this first turn, but mostly he's really just braking on the boardwalk here. And so in each turn, you'll notice he comes in, he'll either switch direction or like once he gets into his lean, he never moves. Like the bike stays the exact same lean amount through the entire turn, and that's literally perfect, because that means that he's carrying the just enough speed where he can't lean anymore. And then what you would notice if he goes down and kind of wavers back up, and then he's also not having to brake because if that were the case, you would see him drift up to the top of the berm, hit the brakes, and then have to come back down. So he's not braking in the middle of the turns. It's just like boom, locked in, boom, locked in, boom, locked in. And you can kind of notice he wavers just a little bit there, so I'll kind of like play that back. Um, Maybe I'll play it in slow motion. Huh? Actually, I kind of want to talk about like how you get into that in the first place. So slow it down and slow it way down. And so he's braking, and then and you can notice he's just like on the same line, and then he changes directions really quick, tries to get up really high. This turn is much steeper or much tighter, so you'll notice he really gets up high really early, right? Like if you were carrying too much speed, you would want to drift out. And so right here, he did avoid a couple of rocks, but he probably didn't need to come down that low, which meant he probably could have carried a tiny bit more speed through that turn. But then again, like right on the next one, he got like totally locked in. And so, how do you do that? It's really about if you find yourself having to brake into the turn, you need to move your braking point back. So you really think about it like an F1 race where you have this really specific braking point. You want to get all your braking done, and then as soon as you start to lean for the turn, you want to be off the brakes. And it's it's really gnarly because as soon as you kind of get into the turn, you'll you'll really want to brake if you're going fast enough. But you really just have to trust your suspension, trust your bike, trust your body position, um, and just try to hold that lean. And if you are braking, if you have to drag your brake coming into the turn or at any point in the turn, um, it'll make it much harder. Not only like are you going slower, and the main thing about these type of turns is the exit speed, all turns maybe, but it's also going to not let your bike get into the right position. As soon as you start braking, your suspension's gonna kind of stiffen up, and it's gonna you're gonna want to stand up. It's like so you see the riders like you know move up to the top of the turn, stuff like that. But yeah, all good.